Hello everyone, this is me, Nobel Ang, again making another chess video. Um, just a couple hours ago, I played a game on chess.com that I thought is worth sharing because I depart from my usual cautious, conservative way of play and launch into an attack that may or may not be sound. I don't know. I haven't really actually analyzed it yet, but it is nevertheless an interesting attack anyway because it brought out certain I was able to develop and bring to fruition certain ideas that worked this time. So basically, this game actually reminds me of some of the games of Mikhail Tal, the Soviet champion from the 60s. It's often said that when people often said of Tao's games that he would come up with attacks that were probably unsound over the board, but the refutation for those attacks were not found until like 6 months later. So in a sense, in chess, the chess is kind of half science and half art because while it is a very precise game, there is also some room for creativity and maybe even aesthetic beauty in that you come out with attacks that may not be totally sound, but which nevertheless, are beautiful in their execution. Okay, so anyway, without further ado, let's get to the game itself. Let me pull up the screen. Okay, this is also one of my shorter games. It's only about 23 moves, so we won't have to take too much time, looking at it. As I said earlier, I have not analyzed the game myself yet, so I'm looking at this with fresh eyes as well. So in this game, I'm black, playing against this person by the name of Seren Super from India. All right, so my opponent opened with d4 and I counter with d5. He follows it with knight f3. I follow with knight f6. So it's a very symmetrical queen pawn opening game so far. And then he develops it with he follows with bishop f4 London system, and then I respond with e6. Which is followed by a3 on his part, and then I respond with bishop d6. And then he decides to take the bishop, which surprised me a little bit because most London system players actually would, retreat the bishop to g3 instead of exchanging bishops. But well, exchanging bishops actually suits me actually, so I retake the bishop with the queen. Queen takes d6, and then what does he do at this point? Oh, okay, he brings the knight up to to c3. Now, and then I decide to play the prophylactic a6 in order to prevent his knight from coming to b5 and creating trouble for me. And then he plays e3, and I decide to castle. And then he plays bishop d3, which is pretty common in this position. I'm actually a little bit surprised that he developed his queenside knight to c3 rather than to d2, which I think developing the queenside knight to d2 would be more in keeping with the idea of the London system, which is basically to to basically direct all your pieces to black's king side. But in any case, this is what happens. So what did I do? Oh, I responded with knight bd7, and then he castles, and then I respond with c5. So all of this is a very typical queen pawn game so far. Nothing unusual is happening yet. Okay, and then he develops b3. I'm actually also a little bit puzzled by this move. Maybe he's doing it because he's afraid of my pawn push, my c4 push. Okay, I'm not entirely, but I'm not. Other than that, I'm not entirely sure what b3, what kind of purpose b3 serves. Okay, but in any case, I then respond with b6, and then he responds with a4. Again, I'm not entirely sure what purpose that serves either. But anyway, I respond by fianchettoing my bishop e7, and then he responds with queen e2. Okay. Perhaps he's slowly trying to marshal his forces to attack my king side. Yeah. Well, actually, perhaps what he's trying to do with Queen E2 is to use his bishop to take on A6, and then he's hoping that perhaps he will use his bishop to take on A6, and then I'll take back with my bishop, and then he will bring his. This doesn't really make sense. Okay, never mind. Please forget what I said in the last few seconds. Okay, but Queen E2 perhaps is trying to, this is the beginning of an attack on my king side. I mean, okay, so. And then I respond with rook a c8. He responds by taking d takes c5. I respond with knight takes c5. What does he do next? He brings the knight to d1. Okay, interesting. Let's go back and take a look at what led up to this move. So why would he play knight to d1? I believe it's because he wants to avoid the scenario whereby I take where I use the knight to take on b3, and then he will have to take back on b3 with his pawn, and then I will use my rook to take the knight on c3, thereby gaining a pawn. So I think his knight d1 is meant to avoid me winning a pawn using that tactic. So in any case, the play continues with knight f e4 on my part. I'm actually feeling quite good with my game right now. I'm nothing decisive is happening, obviously, but I feel that I have good control of the center, and I have at least a slight space advantage. All right, what does he do next? Knight b2. What is knight b2 about? Okay, in any case, I went with knight c3, attacking his queen. His queen goes to d2. I follow this up with knight takes d3. I'm always happy to take white's light square bishop in this scenario, in this particular position, because then he has one less powerful attacker, which is one less problem for me. So he retakes with the queen, and then I push e4, push e5, threatening e4 on the next move, which would be a fork. He sees that coming, and he counters with knight c4, which seems like which seems like a good response. Obviously, I can't take the knight with my pawn, because then I'll lose my queen. However, I thought about, at this point, I paused. I stopped. I thought about the next move for a very long time. I could try to play it safe and just move the queen to safety, or maybe to f6 or something. But then if I do that, I will end up losing that pawn on e5, which he can take with the knight. So instead of playing it safe and moving the queen away to safety, I decide to try something interesting. So I take the knight with my rook, and he takes back with the pawn, and then I push forward, taking his, forking his queen and knight. He takes my knight, I take his knight on f3, and then he takes the pawn. I push. No, not yet. Sorry, not push. I went for queen g6 check, which is followed by king h1, and I follow it up by d4, and this is where he gets into a bind. Obviously, he can't just take the pawn he can't just take my offending pawn on d4, because if he does that, I will go with bishop takes f3, which I believe is checkmate. So what does he do? Does he have any other options? Rook g1 doesn't help either, because same problem, the same thing is going to happen. The same response is going to come from me. It will still be bishop takes f3 check, and then the next move, I believe, will be the next couple of moves will lead to checkmate. So what does he do? Well, I don't think he has many options. So he went with h3, which doesn't help me at all, because bishop takes f3 check still comes. And then at this point, he just resigns, because there's really nothing he can do. I mean, you can definitely see that whether he plays king h2 or king g. No, actually, sorry, he only has one move, which is king h2, and then the next move will be queen g2 checkmate. All right, so that's all. That's all there is to this game. It's only 23 moves, as I said. I am not sure. As I said, I have not analyzed this game, so I'm not sure if what I'm doing is sound. But in whatever the case might be, he fell for it. It worked. So if you have anything to say about this game, I look forward to hearing about this in the comments. I'm just happy that I have unleashed my inner Mikhail Tal in this one game. All right, thank you very much for watching this video. I'll talk to you. See you soon. Bye.